My 8-year-old daughter's trembling voice cut through the quiet evening like a knife. Mom, Dad has someone else, and they're planning to steal everything from you when you're away. Elena Morrison was 38 years old, a strategic analyst for a global investment firm in Charlotte, North Carolina. Her life appeared perfectly orchestrated from the outside: a stunning home in Myers Park, a thriving career, and quality time with her daughter, Sophie. That Tuesday evening, she'd been preparing for a conference in Boston, carefully folding blazers in her bedroom while Sophie assembled a puzzle on the carpet. She was a perceptive, intelligent child whose insights often surprised her teachers. As Elena called out from her closet about the 3-day trip, Sophie went silent, her small hands frozen over a puzzle piece. Later that night, as she tucked her in, Sophie asked her to stay longer. She nestled against Elena, quiet for several minutes before whispering words that shattered everything. Mom, Dad has a girlfriend. Elena froze, certain she'd misheard. What did you say, sweetheart? Dad has a girlfriend. He was talking to her on the phone last night when he thought I was asleep. He was in the study. He told her that when you leave for your trip, they're going to the bank and do something with the money. A wave of cold dread washed over Elena. What exactly did you hear, Sophie? He said you'd be away and they had 3 days to finish everything. She laughed and said they could finally relax. Elena held her daughter without speaking, her heart pounding like a war drum. Sophie fell asleep quickly, but Elena remained awake all night. At 3 in the morning, she went to the kitchen and opened her laptop, searching through emails for documents Ryan had asked her to sign weeks after her appendectomy. He'd said they were routine insurance updates. She found it. 5 pages of dense legal language. One heading made her stomach drop: General Power of Attorney with Broad Authority. She opened another document: Authorization for Asset Management in Medical Emergency Situations. Her hands trembled as she remembered signing these papers, still groggy from surgery. Ryan had been so caring, so attentive, serving her tea and saying, "Just a precaution, so I can help if anything happens." Now those words carried a sinister meaning. Elena closed the laptop and paced the kitchen floor. Her husband was plotting against her with another woman, and her daughter had accidentally witnessed it. At 4:30 a.m., she checked her suitcase, then opened her work notebook and began writing questions. How long has this been going on? Who is she? Why does he want my money? Am I in legal danger? At dawn, Ryan woke up acting completely normal. He kissed Elena's forehead and made coffee. All packed? He asked casually. Yes, she replied, studying his every gesture as if he were a stranger. What time are you leaving Thursday? My flight's at 6:15 a.m. I need to leave the house by 4:30. Ryan nodded. Then, without subtlety, he asked, Are you back Saturday or Sunday? Elena felt a sharp pain in her chest. She took a deep breath. Make it Sunday evening. Perfect. And he smiled. That smile was confirmation. While Sophie ate breakfast, Elena watched her with a mixture of tenderness and rage. Not at her daughter, but at herself. She'd ignored the signs: unexplained absences, ridiculous excuses, Ryan spending more time in meetings, taking calls outside, changing his phone password. That afternoon, while Ryan was out, she called Sarah Chen, a former college friend who was now an attorney. She requested an urgent meeting. At 7 o'clock sharp, Elena entered Sarah's downtown office. Do you have the documents? Her friend asked. Elena pulled out a folder with printouts. Sarah read them in silence for several minutes, her expression darkening. Elena, this is serious. You gave him complete access. Your husband can make legal, financial, and medical decisions on your behalf. If he claims you're mentally unfit to manage your assets, he can act for you, even sell your house. Elena felt nauseous. Can he do this while I'm gone? Yes. And if he's already planned it, This trip is the perfect window. He won't waste time. I need to revoke this, Sarah. I can help, but we need to be discreet. Are you willing to cancel your trip? Absolutely. Okay, two things. First, we legally revoke the power of attorney. Second, we notify the bank and restrict unauthorized transactions. But we need proof of his intentions. Do you have a recording or message? Elena shook her head. My daughter overheard him. He told this woman they'd use my absence to handle everything at the bank. Sarah looked thoughtful. Would Sophie testify if this escalates? She's 8 years old. I don't want to expose her. Then we need to be smart. We'll prepare the revocation and seal all avenues before he acts. Elena left with a plan. When she got home, Ryan was waiting with wine. Stressed about the trip? He asked. She forced a smile. Just work pressure. Relax, baby. Everything will be fine. Trust me. I can't do that anymore, Elena thought. Lying in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, she knew Sophie had saved her without realizing it. A whisper at the right time had stopped an earthquake. But what Elena didn't know yet was that Ryan's mistress wasn't just planning to steal her money. She wanted Sophie too. At 6 a.m., Elena sat at the kitchen table, hands clasped around cold coffee she hadn't touched. The wall clock ticked like a countdown. Sophie was still asleep. Ryan too. He didn't need to wake for work yet. Elena knew she couldn't show a single crack. If he suspected anything, the plan she was building with Sarah could collapse. Any mistake could cost her not only her money, but also her daughter. She walked to the front door and checked the mailbox. Among the letters was a white envelope with no return address, but a seal in the corner gave it away. Attorney David Lancaster, Charlotte, North Carolina. Her stomach lurched. She opened it carefully and extracted a notarized deed. In the bottom right corner, 2 signatures appeared as authorized witnesses, Ryan Morrison and Victoria Sterling. That name cut like a knife through any hope this was a misunderstanding. The document, dated weeks earlier, confirmed validation of the power of attorney. Victoria wasn't just the mistress. She'd helped Ryan legalize a weapon against Elena. Her phone vibrated. A message from Sarah. I've contacted a specialist. He has an opening this afternoon. Get ready to act. Elena's eyes no longer held fear. They held fury. At 8 a.m., when Ryan came down for breakfast, Elena was ready. Dressed professionally, laptop in her bag, serene smile in place. Meeting today? Ryan asked gently. Yes, with the Boston team. Getting everything ready. What time's your flight Thursday? He pressed, slowly stirring his coffee. 6:15 a.m., leaving the house at 4:30. Ryan took a sip and nodded. Elena noticed the slight movement of his lips, a minimal, almost imperceptible smirk. Did you check in yet? Not yet. I'll do it tonight. Why? No reason. Just wondering if you need me to drive you to the airport. Elena held his gaze steadily. She wanted him to believe she trusted him, even though every cell screamed the opposite. I'll let you know. When Ryan left, Elena locked the door and sank against the wall, forcing herself not to cry. This day was for strategy, not tears. At 11:30, she arrived at the firm Sarah had indicated. A man about 50 with graying hair greeted her. His name was David Lancaster, an attorney specializing in estate fraud and domestic financial crimes. I've reviewed your case. Your situation is more common than you think, but no less dangerous. Elena sat across from him, still holding the notarized envelope. How bad is it? David took the documents, read them, and looked up. Your husband has total control over your assets. He can sell your house, move your accounts, even make medical decisions for you. Legally, he holds your entire life in his hands. Elena felt hollow. Can he declare me incapacitated? Yes. With a doctor's certificate and the current power of attorney, he can request a declaration of incapacity. If you're out of state, it's even easier to execute without immediate opposition. Elena clenched her fists. Can they commit me to a facility? Yes, without your consent. A doctor's order and his signature as authorized agent would suffice. David paused. Do you have any indication this might be their plan? Elena told him about Victoria, the envelope, and what Sophie had overheard. David noted every detail. It's already in motion, he said gravely. What can I do? David turned his monitor toward her, showing a three-phase plan. First, we revoke the power of attorney. I have direct contact at the attorney's office. If we sign today, your husband receives formal notification tomorrow, but that might alert him. Elena looked concerned. If that makes him react, that's why step 2 is vital. We eliminate his access as co-signer on all your accounts. Today, we move them to new exclusive protected accounts in your name. Third, we need solid proof of intent. A recording, a failed attempt, something proving premeditation. David narrowed his eyes. Are you willing to pretend you're taking the trip? Elena nodded without hesitation. Anything to protect my daughter. David smiled for the first time. Good. Then we play the same game, but with better cards. That night, Elena had dinner with Ryan and Sophie as if nothing had happened. Ryan was unusually attentive, telling jokes, offering to help pack. He gently stroked Elena's hair. She let him. Every caress was a disguise. Every smile was a weapon. Remember those papers you signed weeks ago? Ryan asked after dinner. The attorney called. He said there are a few details to update. Can you stop by his office tomorrow? Elena felt a shiver. She got up to do dishes. I can't tomorrow. Full day. Better after the trip. But the attorney said it's quick. Just one signature. I prefer to do it calmly when I get back. Tense silence. Ryan set his silverware down harder than necessary. Whatever you want. Elena turned away to hide her face, closed her eyes, clenched her teeth. She knew she'd just thwarted his plan, and that he would start panicking now. What she didn't realize was that Ryan had already made his next move, and time was running out faster than she thought. The next morning, Elena executed the plan with David. She signed the revocation, changed her accounts, and transferred all savings to an exclusive secure account. She even protected Sophie's education fund that Ryan had helped create. When she finished, David looked at her seriously. As of today, he no longer has control. But he doesn't know it yet. When he finds out, he won't react well. Elena looked out the window. What if he tries something with Sophie? What if he wants to take her away? He can't legally. Custody is shared. But if what you told me is true, I think he and Victoria have something else planned. What? They might try to make you look unstable so he can claim full custody. Elena didn't reply. The words hung in the air like poison. That night, while pretending to pack, Elena found a business card hidden among Ryan's documents. It was for a private psychiatric clinic. On the back, handwritten, Friday 11th, 9 a.m. Dr. Patricia Hughes. Elena felt the world shift beneath her feet. That was their plan. She'd leave Thursday, and Friday Ryan would have her declared unstable by a complicit psychiatrist. By Saturday, she likely wouldn't have a house, accounts, or a daughter. She looked at Sophie sleeping with her stuffed bunny. She sat beside her, stroked her hair, and silently swore they would never touch her. Elena was no longer just a wounded mother. She was a woman at war. She needed to know who she was fighting. She had a name, Victoria Sterling. But it wasn't enough. After dropping Sophie at school, she sat in her car and searched online. Victoria Sterling Charlotte. A LinkedIn profile appeared, along with mentions on a financial consulting website. Sterling Wealth Management. The website showed Victoria in a tailored suit, impeccable smile, marked arrogance in her eyes. The description read, Founding Partner, Specialist in Private Wealth and Asset Restructuring. The address, Providence Road, 3rd floor, Charlotte. Elena remembered. Ryan used to say he had client meetings on that very street. He'd even taken Sophie there once, claiming it was a bank. Now she understood everything. Victoria wasn't new to Ryan's life. Elena went to Facebook and found a private account. The profile picture showed Victoria's back, facing floor-to-ceiling windows with a city view, the kind of image that hints without showing. Elena decided to dig deeper. She searched old photos on her computer. Forgotten digital albums, wedding photos, honeymoon pictures. Nothing, until she found a folder labeled College Years. She opened it. There she was, Victoria, much younger, longer hair, sitting next to Ryan at a college party. In another photo, they were hugging. In another, kissing. The photos were dated 2005. Victoria wasn't just a mistress. She was Ryan's former girlfriend, the woman he'd loved before Elena. And now, she'd returned. Elena sat alone, staring at the screen as if watching a recorded betrayal. She felt fury, fear, helplessness, and something more dangerous, a thirst for justice. Hours later, Sophie came home from school with drawings in her backpack. Elena tried to act normal while serving her a snack. Mom, can I tell you something? But promise you won't be mad? Of course, sweetheart. Tell me. Sophie played with her glass of milk. Dad told me something, that when you go on your trip, he's taking me to live with him and Victoria, that we're getting a puppy, that she cooks good food, and there's a bedroom just for me. Elena felt her fingers go cold. He told you that? Sophie nodded. And he said you're going to be really busy, working far away, and he'll take better care of me. But I want to live with you. You're not going away, are you? Elena hugged her daughter tightly. No, baby. I'm not going anywhere. Nobody is going to separate you from me. Sophie didn't understand the gravity of her words, but Elena did. This was the complete plan, not only to take her assets, but to erase her. Presents from her daughter's life. At 9 p.m., Ryan arrived home looking rushed, nervous. He brought pastries and wine, trying to act affectionate. You look beautiful tonight, he said while she did dishes. Thanks, she replied without looking. I was thinking, after your trip, what if we plan a getaway? Just you and me. No work, no kid, just us. Elena managed a slight smile. Why so romantic all of a sudden? Ryan looked at her with a forced smile. Because I love you, Elena. And sometimes, I feel like we're drifting apart. We're drifting apart? That's ironic. Just then, Ryan's phone vibrated on the counter. The screen lit up. Elena caught a glimpse of the name before he grabbed it. Victoria. Ryan immediately locked it. Who was that? Elena asked casually. A client from the office. Elena looked at him in silence, then let it go. It wasn't time to confront him yet. When Ryan went to shower, Elena took his phone, locked herself in the guest bathroom, called Sarah's number, and spoke in a low tone. We have what we need. He doesn't just want to rob me. He wants to keep my daughter. Victoria was his college girlfriend. They've been together for years. Do you have direct proof? Sarah asked. No, but I can get it. Then do it. Record what you can. Conversations, messages, anything. That night, Elena activated her phone's voice recorder and left it running in the living room while pretending to sleep on the couch. At 11:07 p.m., Ryan made a call on speakerphone. Hey, beautiful, he said in a low voice. Is she asleep? Victoria asked from the other end. Yeah, she doesn't suspect a thing. Everything's ready. In 48 hours, it'll all be ours. Are you sure the attorney will accept the transfer? Positive. He thinks it's family restructuring. She already signed the authorization during her surgery. Didn't even notice. And the house? Already done through the real estate firm. My brother-in-law received the deposit. We just need to sign the deed. Perfect. I want to see you tomorrow. What do you have planned? You'll see in person. Hint. It's red lace. Elena held her breath, forcing herself to stay still. The recorder captured every word until they hung up. The trap was set. Now all she had to do was spring it and watch them fall. Elena opened her eyes before the alarm. It was 4:12 a.m. The darkness was absolute, but inside her burned clarity, the certainty that she was about to change everything. She dressed silently, took the empty suitcase she'd placed downstairs, and left without a sound. Ryan slept, believing his victory was assured tomorrow. Elena out of state, the house ready to transfer, accounts ready to empty, Sophie lined up to be taken, and a new life with Victoria waiting. But it was all a carefully constructed lie. 4 blocks away, Elena parked in a discreet garage David had arranged, a property used for delicate legal cases. Inside the small monitoring house, David was waiting. Everything good? He asked. I didn't sleep, but I'm ready. The place had a desk with 2 open laptops, a coffee maker, and a central monitor connected to surveillance cameras. Are you clear on what we're doing? David asked. Elena nodded. We wait for him to act. Exactly. Your accounts are blocked. The power of attorney is revoked. The bank has been notified. Everything's legally shielded. Now we need him to expose himself. At 8:03 a.m., Ryan sent a text. Sweetheart, did you board yet? Everything okay? Elena ignored it. At 8:47, another. Let me know when you land. Want to know you're safe. David noted each timestamp for the legal record. At 9:10, a camera at the bank captured movement. Ryan entered in a light gray suit, black folder under his arm, confident expression. Victoria waited outside in a white car, checking her phone. There he is, Elena muttered, eyes fixed on the screen. Let's see how long it takes for the mask to drop, David said, activating the recording. Ryan approached the executive service area, showed his ID, and handed over documents. The camera focused from a discreet angle. As legal agent for Ms. Elena Morrison, I want to liquidate the funds in account number. The executive, a woman in her 40s, checked her computer. Her face changed. She looked up cautiously. 1 moment, please. She called her supervisor. A tall man with glasses appeared, reviewed the papers, picked up the phone, and dialed an extension. Ryan frowned, crossing his arms. Is there a problem? We're just verifying information, the manager replied. Victoria got out of the car, approaching the door nervously, pacing while checking her watch. On camera, they heard Ryan mutter, "This was supposed to be done today. My wife is out of state." Elena's heart raced, hearing those words from his mouth. Written confirmation. The manager returned. Mr. Morrison, I must inform you the power of attorney was revoked less than 24 hours ago. Furthermore, your access as co-signer has been removed. You're no longer authorized to make any movements in these accounts. Ryan went pale. That's impossible. I repeat, sir, you have no legal authorization. The documents you presented are invalid. This is insane. She signed this. I'm her husband. The system has been updated. The information allows no exceptions. Ryan raised his voice, slamming the table. You don't know who you're dealing with. The executive stood immediately. The manager pressed a button under the desk. Security approached. Victoria entered the bank. What's going on? She said loudly. They're denying us access. They say she revoked everything, Ryan replied beside himself. But didn't you say it was done? She signed it. She signed it while recovering. How could she annul it so fast? Who helped her? I don't know, but this had to be done today. Elena listened to every word. Ryan and Victoria exposed in their desperation. The manager gestured. Ryan was escorted toward the exit. Victoria left before him, agitated, talking on her phone. David paused the recording. That was perfect. Elena brought her hands to her face. Seeing him, hearing him, knowing he'd truly tried to execute everything, it hurt more than any imagined betrayal. At 11:02, Elena's phone vibrated. Ryan. She didn't answer. It vibrated again. Then a text. Where are you? Why did you do this? We need to talk now. Don't answer, David said. Let him talk into the void. Every desperate call and message is proof. At 12:21, an alert appeared. Ryan was at their house, banging on the door. He paced in circles, phone to his ear, calling again. Elena, answer me. Where are you? Who put this in your head? Elena watched from the screen. There you are, the man who claimed to love me. Ryan sat on the front steps, breathing heavily. Victoria arrived minutes later, got out, and argued with him. The camera captured her yelling, throwing her phone to the ground. They looked like a couple in chaos. The mask had shattered. At 2:30 p.m., they left. David turned off the monitor. Elena, this is enough to file charges for attempted fraud, breach of trust, document falsification, and power of attorney abuse. We can request a protective order and immediate restraining order. Elena looked at the black screen. She was no longer afraid. I want to do it today. David nodded. We will. And with this, we won't just stop them, we'll legally destroy them. The battle was won, but the war wasn't over yet, and Elena was ready for whatever came next. The courthouse stood like a concrete fortress amid Charlotte's busy streets. Elena watched it from the car, while David reviewed documents one last time. Ready? He asked. No one's ever ready for this, she replied steadily. But we're doing it anyway. They entered at 8:02 a.m. The air smelled of paper, reheated coffee, and contained nerves. At 8:17, Ryan arrived in black, no tie. Victoria was beside him in dark sunglasses and a gray blazer that couldn't hide her tension. Ryan avoided looking at Elena, but Victoria didn't. She watched with a mixture of hatred, contempt, and fear. The judge was a man with white hair, thick eyebrows, and measured voice. He took his seat, reviewed files, and asked the plaintiff to begin. Your Honor, my client was victim of premeditated acts by her husband and Ms. Victoria Sterling to strip her of her estate, nullify her legal capacity, and take custody of her minor daughter. We submit documentary evidence, audio, video recordings, and testimonies. Furthermore, the power of attorney was obtained through deception, signed during medical recovery following major surgery. The judge reviewed papers, pausing at seals, dates, signatures. He made notes, then turned to Ryan. Mr. Morrison, do you have anything to declare? Ryan stood, voice trembling at first, then finding a firm, almost indignant tone. Your Honor, this is a misunderstanding. My wife is going through an emotional crisis. She has severe anxiety history. I was only trying to protect her. She signed the documents in full awareness. What we did was for the family's good. There was no deception or intent to harm. Elena let out a dry laugh. She couldn't contain it. The judge looked up. Miss Morrison, do you wish to say something? Elena stood unhurriedly. Her navy dress made her look formidable, resolute. Her voice didn't tremble once. You used my medical recovery as an opportunity. That doesn't make you smart. It makes you a coward. I signed those papers with pain medication in my system. You told me it was an insurance update. You never gave me a choice. While I slept, you plotted with your mistress how to take my house, my accounts, and my daughter. I have everything recorded. Victoria saying, In 48 hours, it'll be ours. You yelling at the bank that my wife is out of state. It's all here with dates, times, and context. Ryan looked down. Victoria crossed her arms tightly. Furthermore, Elena continued, my daughter spoke up. She told her teacher she was scared. That her father said when I left, she'd go live with Victoria, that they'd get a puppy, as if that could erase her mother. The judge requested the audio and videos, the bank recording, the phone call, the intercepted conversation. Every word filled the room like a verdict. No one spoke. No one breathed. When finished, the judge leaned back. After reviewing evidence showing clear indications of document falsification, intent to defraud, and emotional manipulation of a minor, I issue the following precautionary measures. A restraining order against Mr. Ryan Morrison and Ms. Victoria Sterling in favor of Ms. Elena Morrison and her daughter. Furthermore, freezing of any attempted asset transfer until the main case is resolved. Ryan literally crumbled, slumping in his chair. Victoria grabbed her purse and left without looking back. Hours later, a social worker visited Sophie's school, speaking with her teacher, counselor, and Sophie herself. Her report noted Sophie clearly recounted her father saying she'd soon live with Victoria, that her mother was too tired to care for her. The report was damning. Negligence of emotional well-being and attempted manipulation of the minor's environment for forced maternal separation are confirmed. That week, David received a call from the district attorney's office. We have a proposal. If the affected party agrees, we can offer a settlement to avoid lengthy trial. Ryan and Victoria are willing to accept formal responsibility to avoid jail time. The deal: 3 years probation, full restitution for failed financial movements, loss of rights over shared assets, criminal records for attempted fraud and document falsification, and voluntary relinquishment of shared custody. David looked at Elena. What do you think? I want him marked. I want the world to know who he is. But more than anything, I want peace. I want my daughter to grow up without seeing that reflection in her eyes. Then we accept. They signed 2 days later. Ryan didn't look at Elena once. Victoria's face hid behind dark glasses that couldn't disguise her defeat. When Elena left the building with David, she breathed the cleanest air she'd felt in months, as if the weight had lifted from her chest. At home, Sophie was waiting with a drawing. You're my superhero, with a stick figure wearing a red cape. Elena smiled, hugged her, and for the first time in a long time, did it without fear. She had won, not just the case, but the certainty that no manipulation, no betrayal, no false documents or cold words could defeat a mother determined to protect what was hers. 5 years later, Elena had sold the house and moved to a smaller, brighter home with a garden. She worked independently now, advising women in legal vulnerability situations. Sophie, now 13, was taller, her voice deeper, her gaze firmer, but she retained those same watchful eyes that 5 years earlier had revealed a truth that changed everything. One evening, Sophie came home with an envelope. Mom, they gave me this. Elena opened it carefully. The Phoenix Scholar Foundation logo was on the header. She read twice, then looked at Sophie, heart racing. They offered you the full scholarship. Sophie nodded without speaking. You are incredible, Elena finally said. Absolutely incredible. That night, Elena went to her desk and opened a small wooden box from the bottom drawer. She took out a sheet of paper folded in 3, a handwritten letter in blue ink she'd written 5 years ago in the chaos, when truth was emerging and life hung by a thread. Sophie, she said while her daughter did homework, I have something for you. She handed her the letter. Sophie opened it with trembling hands. As she read, her face changed, eyes clouding. She finished and held it against her chest. You wrote this when everything was happening? Yes. I never knew if it was the right time. Now I know it is. Sophie hugged her without words. She didn't need to. 2 weeks later, Elena found an envelope in the mailbox. Ryan's handwriting was unmistakable. She sat in the garden under a clear sky and opened it without emotion. The letter was long. He'd lost his job. Victoria had left him. His parents wanted nothing to do with him. He lived in a rental and regretted everything. He spoke of loneliness, remorse, how much he missed Sophie, how much he missed Elena. He asked for forgiveness, expected nothing. He just needed to say it. Elena folded the letter calmly, went inside, tossed it into the fireplace, and watched the flames until nothing remained. Sophie never asked if her father had written, as if she knew that door shouldn't be opened. That night, Sophie approached while they had dinner. "Are you ever going to tell this whole story?" Elena looked at her. "What do you mean?" "Everything that happened. What you did. What he tried. Are you going to tell anyone?" Elena put down her fork, thinking for several seconds. Maybe not as my story, but as a story that could happen to anyone. A story about betrayal, survival, and where an 8-year-old girl, without meaning to, saved her mother from losing everything. Sophie looked at her with an intensity no longer childlike, but not yet adult. "Do you think anyone would have believed you if I hadn't said anything?" Elena lowered her gaze. "Maybe not." "Then why didn't you thank me more times?" Elena smiled. "Because ever since you did, I never stopped being thankful. Just not always with words." Sophie stood, kissed her forehead, and went to her room. The door closed softly. Elena remained seated, looking at the lamp over the table, the clock marking 10:47, the tablecloth she'd sewn during the toughest nights. She allowed herself one tear, just one. Not from sadness or even relief. It was a tear of closure, because there was nothing left to fix and nothing left to recover. The story had ended. And in her inner voice, as if someone were dictating from the depths of her soul, Elena knew that if she ever shared what she'd lived through, she'd start like this. Money doesn't measure love. It measures greed. And sometimes betrayal doesn't come from an enemy, but from the person sleeping next to you. But it's also true that the purest love can come from an 8-year-old daughter who, with a whisper, saves your life. Did you enjoy this story? Which city are you listening from? Let's connect in the comments. If this story touched your heart, your support helps me bring more stories like this to life. Thank you for being here. I look forward to hearing your thoughts.